Heidi ho, good neighbors. How are you? Hope you had a great day today. I hope you had a great week and it went well. We're here for the weekend. Let's start it off strong with an awesome guest tonight. I'm Phil Russert, and of course, this Creatorcon Q&A. Thanks for coming out. Robert Manning, what's going on, buddy? How are you? We have a really cool guest tonight. Before we get to our guest, of course, we have a sponsor. That's Craven's Comic Books and Collectibles. They buy, sell, and trade a wide variety of various collectibles, including comic books, trading cards, action figures, and much more. They have a weekly live show that airs every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on their Facebook page, facebook.com/Craven's Comics. That's Craven with a K, like the enemy of Spider-Man. Their live show features tons of many sought-after issues. They also offer CGC submission services, comic book cleaning, pressing and restoration, supplies, and much more. Also, if you're looking to sell your comics or collectibles, whether it's a single issue or a whole collection, they have you covered. You can sell piece by piece via consignment, or they can buy your collection outright from you in cash. The choice is yours. So if you go to their website at www.cravenscomics.com, that's Craven, Kravens comics.com, Craven's Comics for the comics you crave. So that's our sponsor, and I just want to do a quick shout out to the wonderful human being that does my promotional graphics, Andy Lee, www.letsdodis.com, LESDUDIS. Andy does convention reviews, collectible reviews, and he also does foodie reviews. You want to know where to eat when you go into a con? He will tell you the good places to go. And lastly, May 18th, Penguino's Revenge Kickstarter starts. That's Robert Powers. Please go support that and promote that and share it out and let everybody know. It's an anthropomorphic tale of a samurai penguin, and it's a lot of fun, a lot of action. It makes you laugh out loud. It is not for kids, mind you, but please go support that. Robert poured his life into this thing, so please go support him. Speaking of anthropomorphic, our guest tonight is very well known and connected in a lot of ways to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But I personally think his JSA run is legendary. I love that run. It is one of the best runs in comics ever. I think DC really was smart to hire him for that. He's an artist known for Batman, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Thundercats and Masters of the Universe, Injustice and Masters of the Universe, JSA, and so many other things. And he also has a creator-owned project with Tim Seeley going on, Bequest, which we're going to discuss. So without further ado, my friend, Freddie Williams. How are you?
Hey, Phil. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for being on. And I say my friend because I actually poured out my life to you one day. You barely knew me, and I'm like letting you know all these things. And before we get into it, I wanted to just tell everybody, this isn't the original. It's a print that you sent me, which was so kind of you, with a write-up. This original piece of art is hanging on my wall proudly, and you and I have both. It has a lot of meaning to us.
Oh, yes.
And that's pretty much really how I met you. And it was just, it was wonderful that it meant so much to me. It was wonderful that it meant so much to you. And and then I'm sure at least the fact that, because it meant so much to you, it's going to a good home.
Definitely. Yeah, I think I even put this in the write-up that I sent to you or had it, printed out there on the other print, that piece, that Leonardo art was basically one of the core pillars of how I got hired on for the Batman Ninja Turtles crossover, which is that crossover has made all the difference in my career and my personal life and fulfillment of, whatever sort of nostalgia thing I'm trying to do in my brain, a lifelong goal. And that was the page or the piece that started it. So, and I could ramble about that if you, but I don't know.
Listen,
okay. I didn't
we want to hear you talk. Yeah, go for it.
Great. So that Leonardo piece, the original, which you own, basically I was working, so I was at the Phoenix Comic-Con of 2014, I think, maybe 13, I can't remember now. But and I had a deadline where I was working on an 8-page Conan short story. And this was the first story that I'd done in ink wash. And it's a very laborious sort of art style and much more complex than the previous art that I had worked on.
It is beautiful.
Thanks. And well, this was a short story. It was a great, sort of proof of concept to see if I could do sequential artwork in the style, or if it exhausted me too much, or if I could hit my deadlines and that sort of thing. The reason if it's significant is because while we were at the show, Kiki was like back at the hotel when she's normally at the show with me. She was back at the hotel working on color flats and doing some of the color work for me. And I had to like turn away all commission orders. I couldn't take on any commissions because I just had to work the whole time. I was like finishing up the last couple of pages because our deadline was like the coming Monday or Tuesday or something after the show. But I finally finished up the last of that Conan story with about 2 hours left in the show. So I wasn't going to take on any commissions, but I now have this sort of free time at the show. And I thought, well, I could draw anything right now. What do I want to draw? And that was what popped into my mind was Leonardo. I love drawing the Ninja Turtles. I drew that before I drew the Ninja Turtles number 24 cover, which was kind of my actual official introduction into the IDW Ninja Turtle universe. But that Leonardo piece was, and I took photos of it along the way, and there was a lot of people who stood and like right by my shoulder and watched as I was drawing it and stuff. Just curious to, Is
that nerve-wracking, by the way? Is that like, does it get into you? Is people over your shoulder watching you draw? I mean, that's pretty raw.
Yeah, if I'm failing terribly at what I'm trying to draw, it's a little nerve-wracking, but it can also be like a teaching experience where if they happen to be artists, like young artists especially is what I'm thinking of, I can say, you see this arm, how it's all messed up, and they'll usually start laughing, and it also takes the pressure off of me. Like I'm acknowledging this arm looks terrible. It's okay that it looks messed up, and I'll erase it and start re-scribbling and stuff like that. But the point is that when I thought to myself, if I had 2 hours left, not necessarily to live, but if I have 2 hours, what am I going to draw? What's the choice? And it was Leonardo. He's my favorite Ninja Turtle. I know he's your favorite Ninja Turtle. And I love the idea of his, the attribute of him being so dedicated, and he's like full of pride, but not in a prideful way. It's
right.
Like an honor and dedication and intensity. And so he's just riddled with, arrows and throwing star shuriken and blades that have cut him all up and stuff, but he's still fighting. He's still picking himself up. He's got dedication. He's going to make it through this. So on the way home, on the plane ride on that night, he's got lots of arrows on his back. That's what the shell is really good for. But on the plane ride home, I thought to myself, well, I might as well, if I've already drawn Leonardo, I might as well draw the other turtles. And so I drew them. So flash forward, I don't know, close to a year or something. And I had all of those, the 4 Ninja Turtles and then the Conan short story all on my website. And I sent those as a link to Jim Chadwick, who was the editor for Batman Ninja Turtles. He was an editor I was working with already. And we get along really well and stuff. So I emailed him those pages, both the Conan and the Ninja Turtle samples, and said, hey, if you happen to be working on a Batman Ninja Turtles crossover, I'd love for you to consider me. And they happened to be talking about it right then. That's how I got the gig. I mean, it was like the craziest fluke of good timing that I've ever had, but it was built upon, those 2 pillars, the Conan short story, and then that Leonardo is like the beginning or even the foundation of that second pillar of the Ninja Turtle artwork, is definitely what, that's the artwork that sold him. And then he made the decision. So, and then that made a huge difference in my life. But before the Batman Ninja Turtles thing actually happened as I had gone to the New York con like the next year or something. And then that's whenever I met you, and I think I had all 4 pages for sale.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. And you were flipping through, and it jumped out and spoke to you. Yes. And then that gave us a common bonding topic. And I think we chatted, off and on each day about the sort of intensity and the dedication and what it means to us.
And you didn't want to sell it. you were like, I want to and I don't want to. I don't know. That's
true. Yeah. And to make it clear, and not that you ever accused me of this, but that was not a sales tactic. I really didn't know if I wanted to sell it.
I know.
Yeah. And I'm making it clear also for anyone who's listening here, because that is a potential sales tactic where somebody goes, well, geez, I don't know if I want to sell it.
The truth is, it wasn't. You didn't even you could have charged me a lot more than you did. So, I mean, I know, believe me, this piece is gorgeous.
Thank you.
Well, that's the thing is, first, I just want to say real quick, because Robert is going crazy here.
What's up, Robert?
He said, yo. I'm freaking excited for tonight.
Also,
love this guy so much. Batman Turtles is my favorite. Freddie! I've met Freddie Williams a couple times. He's so awesome.
Well, he's really cool too. Oh my gosh, he kept.
He goes, "Are you going to Planet Comic Con again this year?"
Yeah, that will be, I think, so I go in for my second COVID shot on Monday. So as long as we get through that and we're okay, then yeah, we'll start safely doing conventions. And the plan is our first show would be the Planet Comic Con, which has been scheduled now for August, like mid-August this year. So yeah, I'll see you, Robert, there, assuming that I survive Monday and Tuesday.
No hugs, Robert, okay? Elbow bumps, all right? Elbow bumps. He said yay.
Yay!
So not to dwell on this too much, because I want to get into your career. Nobody wants to hear me talk. I was walking through New York Comic Con, and I love your JSA run, by the way. I love it. I have the entire run. I love it, period. Anyway, the writing and your art, it just worked well. But I saw it, like you said, I saw that, and I probably literally went like, oh my God. I was at the roughest, literally the toughest time in my life. And I looked at Leonardo, like you said, he's on his knees, all that crap in him. And you know that he's going to get up because he has to be the leader. He has to be strong for his family, which is, and you can't lay down. He cannot afford to lay down no matter how much he wants to. So you know he's going to get up. And that's what that piece means to me. And it hangs proudly right here on my first floor. You see it when you come in the house. It's out of sunlight, though. And
that's
I
wise.
love that. Yes, and it's just a beautiful piece that means so much. And it's also just the rendering, the detail is just gorgeous. I love your ink wash style. I don't know.
Thank you.
You're one of the few artists in the world that when you see that art, you go, Freddie Williams. You know exactly who it is. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thanks.
So,
which, by the way, I just want to say I'm honored that it's up in your front room and stuff. Like I do appreciate that. I'm happy to move on from that subject, but I didn't want to let that go without saying thank you, and I feel honored to have it up there.
My wife let me.
Yeah. That's very nice of her.
Yeah. Jim O'Reilly's here, another great artist. You should check him out, Freddie. Take a look at his stuff. Hello, fellas.
Hey, Jim.
So tell us about getting a call for JSA, because again, it's just awesome. It's one of my favorite runs of all time.
That was when. So I associate that with right at the end of my Robin run. There was a discussion about what will happen next. So I was on Robin for about a year. Then I jumped over to the Flash for about 10 issues, and then came back to Robin for like another 8 or 9 issues, whatever it was, until the series ended. And there was a short story, a 6-issue arc of something called Final Crisis Aftermath Run. They did like a bunch of Final Crisis Aftermath tie-ins. And on that series, I worked with Matt Sturgis, who is now Leela Sturgis, and she's an awesome writer. We clicked very well on Final Crisis Aftermath Run, and when we were finishing that, we then jumped onto DC was talking about creating a new JSA book called JSA All Stars. So it would have not all the youngest, but most of the legacy characters. So Leela and I, it was both of our first experiences working on a teen book. So I'm really happy to hear. We get lots of compliments on that series, but which is great. But the first couple of issues, we did not know. It's like one of my editors who I talked to later, he said, I could tell you guys were doing the best, bringing your A game. That's what he said. Sorry, let me get this right. I could tell you both were bringing your A game, but it's like you were bringing your triple A game, because there was it's like we were just packing so much into it, that it depends on, I guess, like how complex you like stories and how complex you like artwork and stuff, because there was like 7 or 8 characters in there, and we had almost all of them had lines in almost every panel. Like that was, so issue 1, which was a 30-page issue, almost killed me. I mean, it was like, because there was so much, like drawing Robin, there's always some part of a scene where he's on a church rooftop brooding in the darkness by himself.
Right.
And then those pages you get through so quick. And then later on, the more complex stuff, when he's flying over the city and you've got to draw a million buildings, that takes a lot of time, but you've kind of made up for it. Well, with JSA All-Stars, it was every page was complex, So that's how we kind of got into it in the very beginning of it. It was that Mike Carlin I got to work with. He's a legendary editor who's been around forever, and he's an awesome guy. We get along really well. Even now, we still stay in contact. And it was the first time I got to work with him, and he was very, he basically said his philosophy for editing is find creative people that you like and just let them do their thing. And we always hit it. Yeah. And we always hit our deadlines. So that meant we could almost do anything we wanted to. And Leela and I got along really well. So it was great.
It's funny that you mentioned about how busy the panels were and how much was involved, with the writing and every character. That's why I think I love it so much. It kind of reminded me of storytelling when Claremont and Byrne were together. They had so much going on and so many characters, and everybody got a moment to shine, and it was involved, and there were plots just constantly going. And it really does. I put it in that category of storytelling. Yeah, I loved it. I really did. You guys were awesome together. And
that's I think that might be the biggest compliment I've ever received. So thank you very much.
Really? Oh yeah, no, really. Because look, I'm an old school guy. I don't really care for comics now. I'm going to be honest with you. But that is a go-to series. I mean, it just reminds me of when plots were developing, and as they were being formed, you were solving some things, but everybody got screen time. It was a team book. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the two main people and everybody's in the background. It was a team book, and I just thought it was brilliant. So anybody who has not checked out that series, go buy it. I'm telling you, go find it. It's worth it. I promise you.
And there's some Easter eggs if you get this is kind of sort of Easter eggy. Some people might not like it, but so when I was drawing the first couple issues, I didn't adjust to drawing Power Girl immediately. And so the first couple of issues, I looked back and wasn't as happy with how I had drawn her. So for the trade, I asked Mike, I was like, I'm not asking for any more money. Is it okay if I go through and revamp some of, specifically Power Girl, but there was some other stuff too. And he said, I don't care, because Mike was very cool. And so I revamped a bunch of stuff. So if anyone wants to give additional enjoyment potentially to their single issues and their trades, the first 6 issues especially, if you go through and compare page to page, you'll spot a bunch of small stuff that I tweaked and stuff that, most people probably wouldn't care or whatever, but especially look at Power Girl. There's lots of differences with her.
Just to get to a few people, Robert said, anytime I see Williams II on a cover, I'm so excited. And I say to myself, I know him. John Oninger, another creator, he says, hi all. Hey, John. John's a great guy.
Hey, John.
He'll be on my show at the end of the month. Chris Borman said, great story about the Leonardo piece. I wanted to stop at your table and introduce myself at New York Con, but your table was mobbed. Looking forward to better days. By the way, on my jams behind me, I have Onslaught and Juggernaut drawn by Freddie at one New York Con. And that
was 2017. I remember that.
Yeah, oh, you remember that? Mm-hmm. And I have the Nightcrawler right here up above the doorway here that you commissioned me. I commissioned you. We're sitting right next to a Todd Nauck Colossus and a Scott Williams Colossus. So,
ooh, sweet. Yeah. I feel like I've made the Hall of Fame with that lineup.
Oh, seriously. You're in my Hall of Fame, man. To be honest with you, none of them can top what that piece means to me. So actually, they have to achieve your status. Gerald Motos is an artist that I've told him he has when I see his artwork, sometimes I see your influence. That you're an influence to him. Oh. I think he has your kind of style in a way, with his own in it, of course. He's a really great guy, and he says he loves your style. He told me when I said that it was one of the best compliments he ever got.
Oh, that's awesome.
And real quick, Robert wrote War and Peace. So my main reason of going to Planet Comic Con, which is 4 hours away, is to see Freddie. I have so many more books and sweet variants for you to sign. I promise I'm not a stalker. You just have been amazing ever since the first time we have met. I've known Freddie since 2018. I do want to say this real quick. As much as we laugh, about you saying a stalker, Freddie and Kiki are very approachable people. When you go to Freddie was at Vegas, and he was so busy with deadlines that he couldn't take commissions, but he wanted to live up to his obligation of being at the show. And they took the time to sit and talk with me because, like I said, I was going through some tough times, and this was carrying over from New York. And I wanted him to know why the piece meant so much to me. So I actually told him what was actually going on in my life, which is very personal. But they were very warm and accommodating. They sat, they talked with me. I mean, he's got work to do. He's got deadlines. I'm sitting here pouring out my stuff. They were just really cool about it. So you're right, Robert. It's great to meet Freddie. It's great to go to a show and talk to him at his table. But I think Freddie's too nice to tell you I've got deadlines, so I can't talk anymore.
No, I'm usually no. If I'm working on something, I can still very much talk. I'm happy to chat and stuff, and it's not a bother or anything negative. And if people have a lot of books, I'm happy to sign them. I like signing the books, and I'm happy that anybody collects the books and is supportive of the work that I'm doing and stuff. So yeah, and Robert, bring them all, dude. If you when you come in, in August.
You may have opened up Pandora's box. He's gonna have like 5,000.
Yeah, literally, it'll be a long box that says Pandora's box on it, and he'll open it, and everything needs to be signed. But Kiki, when I say we, Kiki and I have a pretty good system of getting through signatures very quickly because she's always helping to stack them up and stuff. So I think people, especially now, conventions are starting to open up again, to actually go to the convention and then hauling your books there and all this stuff. That's I'm happy to sign them. So bring them on down.
So moving to this, we discussed this earlier.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you had DC credit already with Flash and Robin, which is touching on the Batman universe, but you didn't do Batman. Mm-hmm. And you love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and you had that credit. You get the call up to take two. I mean, Batman seems like everybody loves Batman, but you already, like I said, we're in the universe with Robin. Now you're taking two of your loves and your passions, and you're putting them together. And this was an iconic crossover that spawned the sequel. And you're the man on there. Oh, Courtney Eastman's with us.
Oh, hi. Hey, Courtney.
I'm going to say this. I'm not saying this to score points, but I got a 15-minute interview with her husband, and she was very kind because it was supposed to be 10 minutes. And she let me get extra 5 minutes, and she had a lot going on that day. So thank you, Courtney. But what were you going to say? Oh,
just that it's great to see her here, and I think I've probably texted Kevin about 10 times saying I wish we were all back in Australia, because that was like the last show before the lockdown. The lockdown actually happened in 2020 while we were all in Australia at a convention there. And I wish that time could revert back there, because it was like before everything fell apart as far as conventions and deadlines and all this other stuff. Just everything went kind of out the window. So anyway, it's great to see Courtney, and thanks for joining us.
No interruption at all. We love when people come on and chat, and obviously, it's nice to have you watching the show. Thanks. So you get the call. You love these properties, and now you get to draw them, and you're the iconic face, so to speak, of this book. I mean, you did the art. So you briefly touched on how you got in, got the job, but how was it being the interior artist for this? I mean, what were your feelings on it, and how did it go as far as deadlines and? The reality of it is, once you're into it, after the first issue, you're just so excited to be doing the first issue. It's just like a breeze. And then about halfway through the second issue, it wears down on you as far as the, just like the human toll of like, I've been awake. Workload.
Yeah, the workload, the number of hours that you're spending. And by the third issue, I'm constantly visually checking back to the first issue to make sure, hey, Kiki, that's my wife, Kiki. But I'm constantly checking back to the first issue or two to make sure that my quality is not dropping, because it's easy to start feeling the wear down.
Sure.
So comfortably to draw a pen and ink sort of art style, it's probably 4.5 or 5 weeks per deadline. That's what most people get, and that's what most people feel okay with. to do ink wash is more laborious. Now, luckily, I had Kiki, who helps me an awful lot with not just convention stuff, but also a lot even in the artwork, like filling in blacks and scanning pages and finding reference for me, and just an awful lot of stuff.
Well,
she did colors.
Beside every great man is a great woman, right? Beside, not behind. Beside.
Yeah, exactly.
If they're behind you, it's because you're about to get a swift kick in the ass.
I was going to say, oftentimes ahead, because she has great instincts, and I follow. She's the majority of the time she's right. If she has a feeling about something, I usually follow it, and it's right. But the first issue didn't come out until the fourth issue was mostly done, and we were talking like backstage, so to speak. You and I were about how you don't really know sales figures or anything for like a month or so after the first, or until an issue comes out like a month later or something. You don't know how it's doing. So it wasn't until I was like into issue 5, like the beginning of issue 5, that I heard that issue 1 was really well received. Like and it's a 6-issue miniseries. So I was, pretty much towards the end of that. And so to get the thumbs up to draw it by Jim Chadwick was beyond my wildest expectations, because it was like the perfect timing. Somehow I lucked into it, essentially. And then, and the fact that I even knew the editor. Jim Chadwick and I had been working together off and on for a couple of years. So it could have been that another editor was doing it and they'd already chosen an artist or something.
Right.
It was just very good timing, I guess, or very good circumstances. And then I had the pleasure of also getting, basically in early 2016, Kiki and I got to go to Australia for a show, for a convention, and then us and a couple of friends then went to New Zealand from Australia, and we were there for like a week and a half. So it was like the Australia part was a couple of weeks, then we were in New Zealand for like a week. Then we came back home. So, and that we literally left for Australia the day after my deadline on Batman Ninja Turtles issue 6. So it was kind of like it almost felt like a celebration for we had finished it, like yay, and then we're on a plane, and it was just a really great experience. We'd never been to New Zealand before. We'd love to go to Australia.
I'd love to go. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, we've only been there the once. We would love to go back, hopefully someday.
All right, we're all going. Let's go.
Book the tickets now. So anyway, it was a fantastic experience, total game changer for my personal and sort of professional life, all that stuff. And and Kiki and I are partners, definitely. We're definitely partners on a business and best friends, and
but you can see that when the times I've interacted with you at shows, you could see that between the two of you, which is awesome.
Yeah, we get to travel together and we work together all day, every day.
And you haven't tried to kill each other yet when you're always around each other. So obviously there's something good going on there.
Yeah, it's fortunate that we're such good friends, because we do spend a lot of time together. So but I'm happy to. Even when we get done with a deadline or something, she'll ask me, "Do you want to like go see some of your friends or something?" I'll say, "Nah, I just want to hang out with you. Like, let's just watch a movie and just do non-work." What's that?
That's how I am with my wife. She's my best friend. I want to spend time. I'm not trying to escape her. I want to spend time with her. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a great dynamic, and we're both lucky to have that,
So, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, and towards the end of Batman Ninja Turtles, I contacted DC and asked, hey, what might be next? And they said, well, they said that they had an idea for a He-Man Thundercats crossover. And I said, if that's at all a possibility, I would love to draw that if you would consider it. And there you go. So and they said yes. And I said, especially if it's the classic continuity or whatever. So as soon as we got back from New Zealand, I started working on the pencil studies and doing my homework and stuff like that.
By the way, the pencils alone that you had done were gorgeous. I mean, even before you did everything else, the rest of the rendering and everything, they're gorgeous. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay. Well, but actually, I'm glad that you did say that. Because first of all, thank you. But also, so Batman Ninja Turtles was the first project that I started doing pencil studies on to feel like I could get to know the characters before I draw page 1. Like that was actually a big benefit to have that much lead time. And I was heavily influenced by the Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird, the original Mirage Turtles. Maybe not the very first issue, but like by issues 6, 7. When they weren't as beaky. so to speak,
Right.
and they were starting to fill out, and like the musculature was almost like, rock. That's how their physiques looked. And that's what I connected with before I ever saw a cartoon or before I saw anything else, was those color reprints where all of them had red bandanas.
Right.
The Ninja Turtles book 4, I think, is the first one I saw. And so I was heavily referencing those versions of the Turtles when drawing mine.
Right.
Now I was still trying to do other stuff, but that was definitely that's my core. That's my foundation for what the Ninja Turtles look like. Yeah. So that the grittiness, the mass of them, is
like
heavily,
you said, the solidness of the anatomy and their structure. Yeah.
But I drew from those earlier Mirage books so much whenever I was younger that I clicked very much with drawing them with Batman and stuff. All that stuff. The Batman movie came out in '89, the Tim Burton one, and then the first live action Ninja Turtles movie, which I think is the best one still, came out in '90. And so in my mind, they're both kind of dark, and there's a heavy overlap with all that stuff. So to me, it all went together already, and it was easy to connect them or draw them together.
Now, you were talking about your art style, ink wash. Can you explain to those who don't know what that is, ink wash, what kind of medium that is?
Yeah, it's the majority of comic book artists traditionally will work in a pen and ink style where you're using a bunch of individual lines to create a gray value or to create a texture or something. And that's an awesome style, pardon me, but you can take the same ink and dilute it. So that ink is called India ink, and it's an archive safe ink that's been used for a really long time, but you can dilute it like in a little jar and with water, and then you get shades of gray. So instead of drawing a bunch of thin little lines, you then switch to a style that kind of looks like watercolor, like you're dipping your brush in. Right? Yeah. And I first heard of that. There's an artist named Travis Charay who was, he's an amazing artist, and he was drawing for Wildstorm Studios, Image Comics in the 90s. And I saw, that was the first time that I remember seeing a gray tone. Yeah, it's fantastic, but
he
gray tone.
Cons, though. He's a private guy. He's a quiet private guy.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of videos of him at conventions sketching and stuff, and I think he's very introverted. Yes. I think he's not so good.
Very nice, but introverted. Yes.
Yeah, I've never met him, so that's cool. That
I've spoken to him via email, but that's it.
Okay. So that same sort of style, it kind of replicates. If you look at the originals for the Eastman Laird, the original Turtle books that were printed in black and white, they kind of have. It's not ink wash, but they have a gray value, so they have like normal black and white line work, but then there's something else that has like a gray tone, and that's called duo shade, and it's a special kind of paper. This is what the original Ninja Turtle artwork was drawn on, was something called duo shade. If you look at a piece of duo shade that doesn't have any artwork on it, if you look real closely, you can see these lines that are very lightly somehow on the paper already, but they don't become visible, like truly visible, until you add a solvent to them, which you can paint with the solvent. And if you paint with, there's two different tones of it. One tone will reveal one set of parallel lines, and then if you use the other tone, it'll reveal two sets, not of parallel lines, but of now crisscrossing lines. So the crisscrossing lines creates a darker tone that's close to black, but not black. And then the first solvent creates more of like a lighter gray value. So, but the reason that this exists is before copy machines and printing technology was as sophisticated as it is now, it was very difficult to get a gray value. Right. Things would tend to drop out and either be black or white. Well, these individual lines, you could get what kind of looked like a gray value from further away. So I think that even the ink wash style that I drew the series in lended itself because of the precedents established by the Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird original Ninja Turtles, because they had the duo shade, but kind of a gray tone and grit to it as well.
Well, I've said this to you before. You're one of the very few artists in the world that when you see your art, you're like Freddie Williams. You have your distinct style. And then you add to the ink wash on top of that. It's like, it's absolutely, you always know it's yours. Was that ever part of your thought process of kind of branding yourself too, to be recognizable of your own style like that? Or it just fell that way because you loved ink wash, you loved what it did?
I sometimes I like to analyze art processes and like the creative process, but I cannot analyze and behave the same way when it comes to a business sense. Like,
that's why you have
because
Kiki.
well, yeah, maybe that's one of the ways she compliments. But when I've heard other artists say, you know, somebody's trying to establish a brand or how you might brand yourself as a certain way, that's a very foreign. I can't connect with it as well. There's nothing wrong with it. If you can connect with it, that's great.
Right.
But I just don't think of that for myself. To me, it's more like there's an art style I really like that I saw another artist draw. Let me try to do that. Oh, it's cool. I like, you know, I can maybe apply it to this type of a project or something. That's more of where my brain is on it. So. Because
I was never really aware of ink wash as a medium at all until I met you and I asked you, you know, that first time. I was like, what is with your colors, your style is just something different about it. What is it? And you told me. By the way, Lauren Peterson said that she loves how you acknowledge Kiki's role.
Oh, yeah. Kiki's awesome. And when it's like there's like a legal thing at DC where unless somebody actually receives a paycheck and they have like a signed written contract or whatever, you can't really credit anyone. So like I've asked, could we put like a special thank you to Kiki or something? And like even in the new omnibus that the Batman Ninja Turtles, the big one that they're about to come out with, I've asked if we could do that. I still don't know yet. Probably not, because they've said no on every other level, but I talk about it openly.
Would they let you write a little thank you to her in it?
That's what I tried. We'll see if they'll accept it or not. I mean, I've submitted all that stuff, all the extras material and what I would like as a dedication.
Hopefully you deserve it.
Yeah. But when I talk about it all the time at conventions, because it's the reality of the situation. And I'm just very lucky that Kiki is able to do these things and wants to do them and that we get along so well. So at conventions, usually, if people bring a big, stack of books for me to sign or something, and I'll point out what Kiki might have drawn on there because she was helping me or what role she did. Sometimes people will say, well, then you should be signing it too, talking to Kiki. And she goes, no. It's really cute. If she sees that, I hope she doesn't think I'm making fun of her, because it's actually really cute when she does it. And sometimes she'll actually sign it if you coax her enough. So if you're out there listening and you want to get her signature, you just got to be persistent. She'll sign it.
A nice persistent. Don't be a pain in the rear end.
Yeah, a nice persistent.
Robert has said something else. What up, Robert? What's up? No, the best Batman and Turtles movie is the cartoon version from the comics of Batman and Turtles. How did it feel for the comic you worked on to become a movie?
I think I got a little. First of all, thank you. I got a little sliver of a taste of how it must have felt with that Kevin and Eastman and Peter Laird must have felt, where they're seeing something that they worked on in paper and that they're really familiar with, and then they're seeing someone else's adaptation or interpretation or spin on it. So for me, it was like the very beginning of the animated movie is very similar to what we laid out in our story. But in the first encounter with Shredder and Batman in our story, it ends with Shredder just dropping a smoke bomb and then leaving. Like they don't have a fight. But in the animated movie, they start a fight, and it's an awesome fight. It's a really great martial arts fight. It's got the time to do that. We didn't have the page count to do that. We would have loved to. But as soon as that fight started, I actually felt like I had like an out-of-body experience. It was a very strange sensation of, whoa, like I felt like I was outside of myself watching me watch the film. And it's peculiar to describe that. It's just, and I didn't expect that. It was very surreal. Yeah. It's just, I felt like that's not how it went, but this is awesome. Because I know that story. I was intimately involved with it. So, and it was really cool to see all the homages they did visually with some of the poses and the framing, referencing back to what I had drawn. So
I was going to ask you, did you pay close attention to that to see if they took any of your angles and your composition and put it in there?
I couldn't help, but I mean, that's just how my brain works, is in shapes. So I could recognize, it's not like they did it all over the place, but it was cool anytime I did see that. So
did you sit there, Kiki, look, that was me. I did that.
I think I sat there in total silence when watching it. It was just such a strange, I've described it before, like if you were watching a home movie and then you know, like you're watching a home movie of like you and your family at a picnic. And then, but in the home movie you're watching, suddenly like a kung fu fight started and you're like, whoa, like I was there and that didn't happen, but I'm seeing visual evidence that it did happen. That's kind of what it felt like when stuff would happen that wasn't like how I remembered the story. That's what I mean. It felt like it was very strange. So, but I mean, in a pleasant way. And I bet Kevin and Peter probably feel like that times 1,000, you know,
Sure.
anytime they see a Ninja Turtle thing that is outside of what they've created or not based on what their story or interpretation, it probably feels like, well, that's surreal, you know.
By the way, Glenn Ackham says hi.
Hello.
He loves your comic book art.
Thank you, Glenn.
Keith Brunswick, great guy, says hi, guys.
Hey, Keith.
Kiki says, no, just get Fred's signature. Leave me alone. I'm busy. I was kidding.
Get her signature.
Chris Foreman says, you see, now, I just want you to know, don't put me in the middle of this. When you guys start fighting about this, don't say it was my fault because it was on my show.
Okay.
Chris said, just plaster Kiki as graffiti in your background.
She is in some of it, but yeah, there's like some in Batman Ninja Turtles issue 2. It starts off with Michelangelo. He's inside of a pizzeria and he's trying to warn everyone. He's like, everyone, watch out! There's a crazy guy dressed as a bat. Like that's what he's trying to warn them of, and they're all like, "Whoa!" because he's a Ninja Turtle and they've never seen one. But if you look in the background, it's at TT's Pizzeria, and all of our nieces and nephews used to call Kiki TT because they couldn't pronounce Kiki, the K's. So she's in there a whole bunch of times, not just in Batman Ninja Turtles, but I did a cover of We Are Robin, which was like it was like a coloring book cover where it was very open, and there's like a bunch of graffiti, and she's in the background of that, just all over the place. I sneak her in, so cool. She's in crowd shots all the time. And
Heather says, evening all.
Hello, Heather. Thanks for joining us.
Glenn asked if you worked on Batman 700.
Yes, Kiki and I did. I'm the one who's credited, but we both did. There's 2 double-page spreads, so a total of 4 pages in the back of number 700 that oh geez, am I thinking? So was 700 the one that came out like 5 years ago? Or yeah. I mean, okay, all right. Then yes. So it's 2 double-page spreads. We did some 3D model stuff of the Batcave, and then colorized it and added some textures and stuff like that. So it was actually we did a Batcave 3D model. So me, Kiki, and then my friend Drew worked on the 3D models, and we did that kind of like for inner office reference for the Batman editors, which was Mike Martz, who I'm now working with at Aftershock. He was the Batman editor at the time, and that was how we got some work in number 700. So, hey, Ashley.
Yeah, Robert, I'm sorry. I meant to ask this before, and I forgot. But he wanted to know if we're going to see Batman and Turtles 4.
I would love for that to happen. I don't know. I've even pitched them a Batman Beyond Last Ronin crossover because I think I have an angle that I think would work really well for the story. But there's a very different. There's basically been a regime change. AT&T when AT&T took over and purchased Warner Brothers. Yeah. So I'm not sure what's happening, if that will ever happen or not. I would love to, but we'll see.
Well, you know what we can do? We can petition for it. You know, let them know. Yell at them. Come on.
Yeah. If there's some avenue to do that, please do. Absolutely.
Brett Todd, Freddie, we love your art. I used to live in Kansas City, Missouri. Liberty, speaking of pizzerias, was the best pizza around Kansas City. He said Minsky's.
What is the best pizza? I mean, we go to Spin Pizza a lot because they have like a brick fire type thing. But actually the best pizza that I've had recently that we purchased is from Casey's. It's like a little sort of a convenience store that makes pizza as well. And they make some pretty good pizza. But the best pizza I've had is Kiki's Pizza. She makes an awesome, but it's just, you know, she's like, how exactly do you want this? And then she makes an awesome version of it. So I think that's a little unfair of a standard for other pizzerias to try to meet. So. Oh, you scared me.
You like Stone Canyon? That's your favorite.
She's like, boom.
Oh boy. You can't see the other angle, but they're basically our new office, because we've moved in the last couple months. Our new office is in the basement, and then the stairwell is like it's in a dark hallway right now. And Kiki, to remind me that we like Stone Canyon Pizza, which is like near the airport. she stuck her head awkwardly down the steps. So where a human head is not normally supposed to be, and it's in the shadows, and her voice didn't sound like her voice. She was like, Stone Canyon Pizza. And I was like, whoa. Like,
so if you wake up in cold sweats tonight and say, hold me, she'll know what nightmare
yes.
you had.
Yeah. There was a head where the feet should be. What happened?
And it was talking all creepy. Sorry. Daniel said, I love your art. I followed it since you were on Robin. Hope to see you at Planet Comic-Con. Yes, he plans to be there if everything goes well.
Yes.
Hope to pick up your quest soon, which we're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Hey, Daniel. Good to see you again.
Brett, I'm doing good. Thanks, man. Brett is co-host of a show. If you ever want to do any more shows, go talk to Brett.
Awesome.
I just want to get through some of these. And Batman Beyond, Lee's Ronin. Yes, please.
I would love to draw that.
And of course, he made his correction. William Wolford said hello to both of us.
Hello, William.
Kiki.
She got me on that one. If she
Just like Batman, she appeared.
Oh, yes, exactly. Yeah, that's how Commissioner Gordon must feel every night. You know?
And that's what Brett said. That's what happens when you don't say Minsky's is the answer for pizza.
A shadowy face appears. Minsky's is good, by the way, but it's not who I would pick as the top, though.
Oh, fight!
Yeah.
Yeah, Will is an amazing painter and artist. I have the great pleasure of being able to rep him, and he's phenomenal. So,
Awesome.
At least she didn't say red rum. So, I mean, you've been working on some amazing titles. They're iconic. They're. I mean, you're really at this point. Do you feel immortalized? I mean, how does that feel to know that you? I mean, because if you think about it, look, this book is going to exist well after you're gone. It's going to be talked about by fans. Parents are passing this down to children, sharing their generation, and you're a part of that. Does that ever sink in and you sit there and go, oh my God, wow? That's
a very nice interpretation of the situation, and I appreciate that. It's when working on the different crossovers and, after the first couple of months where you start feeling all worn down and stuff, there would be times that I would turn to Kiki and I'd say, because I'm all tired, I'm grumpy and, I haven't shaven in a week and whatever. And I'm just it's like the reality of it has kind of weighed me down. And then it's like it dawns on me what I'm getting to draw on, that I'm getting to contribute to the legacy of these characters in some way. And just being very lucky to get to draw this for a living. And I'll turn to Kiki and say, it's like it just hit me, what I'm getting to do, and that I really shouldn't be in a Kiki says that whenever I get like that, I'm a grumposaurus. And I'll say I really shouldn't be a grumposaurus. Because I'm getting. But
it's human. I mean, it's not easy sitting at a desk. Your neck, your back, your eyes, your hands. I mean, it gets exhausting. Imagine sitting at the table drawing and having to be detailed and really fine lines and everything all day. It's human, so it's understandable. But it's great that you get to sit there and even if you have that moment and go, "Oh my God."
Yeah, I think I got. I mean, I would. So I've got to hang out with Kevin Eastman going to different shows, and there's been times where I've got to witness his interactions with readers or fans or something.
He's a really nice guy.
He is super nice.
Yeah.
And there was a great example of this when we were at Planet Comic-Con a couple years ago, where there was this young kid who wanted to get a sketch, but it's like it was kind of last minute. He's a little kid and he didn't really understand sort of logistics that his parents had already gotten the items signed and sketched that they were supposed to get. But Kevin's just such a nice guy that he decided to do this sketch for the kid. But this was the situation, is that Kevin looked down, and as soon as he looked down, the kid was really excited. And then when Kevin looked up to hand him the sketch, the kid kind of clammed back up because he felt self-conscious or just whatever about the situation. But I got to see something that Kevin really didn't from this interaction, which was, this is probably the type of thing that kid will remember throughout their life. And it was a great experience. The reason I'm thinking of that is it's not like I assume that that's my interaction with other people or how other people see me. But it was I was just thinking of like how contributing to a legacy like that is a real honor. But I feel very lucky to be connected with the Ninja Turtles, and I'm happy to be one of the Ninja Turtle guys because that's generally what I'm kind of credited for, connected with. And it's an example. If Kevin can take the time to interact with people like that, we all should as well, and look at that as he's one of the few like childhood heroes I've ever met who
lived up to it.
Yeah, because it's kind of dangerous to meet, psychologically dangerous to meet your heroes. But he's an awesome guy and legitimately a really nice guy.
He is. He really is. I will agree with that 100%. So, honestly, we're not going to dwell on it again, but you and Kiki as well gave me that moment. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you.
So you got Masters of the Universe and Thundercats. Now you love 80s properties, and you get like two of the biggest, and you get to draw them. And again, it's like, oh my God, you're on these projects you love and iconic stuff and they're making a big comeback of the 80s again, which it always comes back because it was the best damn generation. I don't care what anybody says. It was the best decade of pop culture. So, did you fanboy on that, or was it like, all right, you know what, let's just get to work? Or
it was so when I grew up relatively poor, and it was one of the few like toy batches of toys that I had was He-Man and some Thundercats, and those cartoons were on in a pretty similar part of my youth. So I very much connected them psychologically, and then I played them and then Voltron quite a bit. So it didn't feel like it was just a job or just something to do. It was, very much like I can't believe the kind of stuff that I'm getting to draw. And it started with Batman Ninja Turtles, and it's hard to get bigger than that. As far as those IPs or something. But Batman and Ninja Turtles like kind of take up like the 12-year-old to 14-year-old part of my brain, and the He-Man and Thundercats takes the 10-year-old. Do you get what I mean? Like,
yes,
it's a different type of cool. It's like a different level, or different segment. So it was fun to get to revisit that part of my youth or psychology again.
I have the issues of these, but I also bought the trades, and I figured I'd show them this. And then here again, we have Thundercats, MOTU, and I just love the way you draw the Thundercats. It's so dynamic, and there's so much energy in them, even on a still pose. The way you draw them,
Well, the animation, if you watch, and you probably have, but anyone who hasn't in a while, watch the opening to the Thundercats cartoon, and it still holds up. It's amazing.
Yes.
It's very exciting. It has a little bit of a manga flair to it. And so the sort of their anatomy, I remember when I was a kid watching that thinking I had never seen something like that before. And even like I had one of the lunch pails, and like there's this iconic shot where, Lino is holding up the sword and stuff that is used on a lot of their licensing stuff. And there's something really cool about the anatomy that I'm trying to replicate. It's like right now I'm tracing over the shape of the forearm of Lionel's forearm that's headed downward when he's holding up the sword, his other arm. So anyway, thank you. But that's actually what I'm thinking the whole time, is that sort of the way that dynamic pose and anatomy made me feel is what I'm trying to capture.
But when you look at your cover art, even just that I showed here, or just your panels, like I said, even if it's just the action pose, there's so much energy, kinetic energy in it, that it's just awesome to look at. And Will said that he's a big fan of your work. You're an incredible talent.
Thank you, Will.
Robert, we're going to get into what's next, so stay tight with that question. Ashley had said, yeah, you both are awesome. Loved meeting you all in Melbourne. I don't know which one it is. Sorry, I know where it is. It's just
yeah, it's you don't pronounce the R as hard. So Melbourne, like that. Okay. Yeah.
And Glenn follows you on Facebook.
Thank you, Glenn.
Keith, sorry, what are other 80s cartoons that you did like?
Yeah, I was, of course, into Voltron. I loved Silverhawks. I loved drawing, or I loved G.I. Joe. The G.I. Joe animated movie I've watched probably 100 times. And the idea of like organic technology, that was the first time I was introduced to it, and it just really stood out to me. So I've gotten to draw like probably 15 G.I. Joe covers in the last year or something like that. So I'd love to keep drawing that. Trying to think of what else was that I was really into. Other cartoons. Nothing else is coming to mind, but Silverhawks, Voltron, those are ones that I haven't gotten to draw anything of.
I'd love to see Silverhawks done.
And Transformers, of course, I've gotten to draw some Transformers covers, but Transformers, the toys, were always very frustrating to me when I was a kid. You make the sound and you want to be able to transform them really fast, but you got to make the sound like 700 times while you're trying to figure out how to put them together.
Yeah, but that Jetfire was like the best damn Transformer. Oh my God, I love that Jetfire.
Oh, I don't think I've had that. Or I don't think I had that.
The big jet with the red jet packet. Oh, it's just so good. Here we go. William Wolford. Where will there be another digital art book or one that is updated? Really like the first one, even though I do not use Photoshop. It's cool to see your approach of how to work digitally.
Thank you, William. I don't know. I wrote a book called The DC Comics Guide to Digitally Drawing Comics, and I wrote that, and of course drew the artwork for the examples in it back in 2007, and so it came out in 2009 because it took me a couple of years to actually get it finished with all the other deadlines and stuff. And I'm not sure. I think that it would probably be best if, I like doing like tutorials and stuff like that, but I think it'd probably be best for somebody to come out with how to use like Clip Studio and Procreate. And those are programs I just don't use. And so I know there's an overlap with some of those, but I would basically have to like learn those programs and then think I know enough to try to teach someone else those programs. So Photoshop, I still very much work that same way that I laid out in the book. Of course, the technology has gotten better, but the process is still very much the same.
Now, while we're on the subject of talking about that in artistic style, we had mentioned before that you have a distinct style, of course. Who are the artists that inspired you or that you really admire? And did you ever like start out fashioning yourself after them? Because a lot of artists start out emulating an artist's style, and then you finally come into your own.
Yes. There's a long list of artists. Kevin Eastman is one of the early ones. I still... because I drew from some of the reprints of the Mirage books so many times, I could still like draw the exact Ninja Turtles leg that I used to draw all the time. I learned how to draw calf muscles from this leg and stuff I'm thinking of. So Kevin Eastman, Jim Lee, Arthur Adams, Wendy Penny, Mike Mignola, Travis Charest, Lineal, Francis Yu. It's a really Frank Miller for framing blacks and spot blacks. Dave Gibbons. It's a really long list. Mark Silvestri. It just keeps going because all of these artists have something that either the other artists don't have or it's in a different bend. They're
kind of like if you can combine all the X-Men together and get that one ultimate being.
Yeah, that would be awesome to be able to have a style that did that. The Akira. So I can't remember his first name, but I know his last name is Otomo, the artist who drew Akira. And the animated movie of that it was life changing to me. So there's a long list of stuff. But so as far as fashioning myself after another artist, yes, in 1992. So I've recently been going through a bunch of my art archives. So my sister and Kiki scanned in a bunch of my old artwork that I have like in boxes, stuff that you never want anyone to see because it's terrible. And I've been like categorizing it in different years and stuff like that. And I saw that at about, August or so of 92, I had a certain type of style that was like heavily influenced by manga, but it was terrible, but it was like a version of manga. And after that, I actually went through a whole bunch of Jim Lee comics and made a primitive style guide. I didn't know that word, but I made like a style guide for myself to adjust the, sort of structure of faces and some of the rendering type that he did, and tried to replicate as much as I could Jim Lee's art style. And that was very useful at the time. It gave me the analogy I've used before when talking about this, when artists will say, how do you figure out your own style or something? I think it's okay to emulate a certain artist to a point. And the way I describe it is their style is like a scaffolding that you can use to climb up. But at a certain point, that scaffolding can become like a prison cell where you feel like you can't escape it. And that's when you should not look at an artist for a while and just do your own thing. I mean, or maybe look at other artists as well. But what I'm trying to say is, in my opinion, it's best not to just stay within the scaffold of another artist. It's best to use that to a certain degree and then jump out on your own for a while and then kind of check with other artists on how stuff is done. So, but mainly Jim Lee was the artist that I did that the most on, I think.
Probably most people at this point.
Yeah. That was the time period.
Who's the current artist that's around now that if you got to meet, you would fumble over your words? Would there be any artists like that, or that you'd be fanboying and humming?
I think I'd just rather hang out with Kevin Eastman some more, to be honest. There's any artist of any of like the big artists that I've met, I didn't click with them the way that I do with Kevin or have with Kevin. So, and with Kevin, I've actually got to work with him in his home office or his home studio.
That's cool.
We worked on the Commandy Challenge issue 9, and then we did Batman Ninja Turtles Volume 3. There was a big overlap of us working together because there was like the Mirage Turtles appeared alongside of the IDW Turtles or something.
Right.
So no, I don't think there's an artist that if I met now, I'd trip over my words. If I was in the same room with them, I'd probably just listen to what they have to say and then leave. I probably wouldn't walk over to try to
be
meet
the fly on the wall, get what you can, and then listen
Sure.
and learn. And
yeah.
Daniel has a good question. Is there a character that you haven't had a chance to draw that you would like to?
Yeah, Superman is takes up a real big psychological role in my life.
I could see you with the traditional curl doing a Superman in your style. It would look awesome.
I'd love to draw that.
Yeah, I mean, because you did Injustice. I mean, but he was the bad one.
Yes. Yeah, there were times. So Tim Seeley wrote that, and that's the first time that we worked together. And I think he did a great job with making Superman was still dark and he was still a bad guy, but there was a certain charm to him at times where he would kind of crack that veneer and smile and say something charming or pleasant or have a nice thought. And I would love to draw the more goody, the Boy Scout version of Superman. I'd love to draw. So if there's ever an opportunity to do that, that's on my bucket list for sure.
That'd be awesome. Jacob Bear says, "What's up?" And then he just bought Bequest #1, and he's looking forward to reading it.
Well, thank you. Thanks for supporting the book. I hope you like it.
#2 comes out tomorrow.
Actually, sorry, it came out on Wednesday.
Yesterday.
So it just came out
yesterday. 2 days ago. It's Friday. I don't know what the hell day is.
A day and a half ago. Yeah.
Need some sleep. What was your favorite fan moment or most memorable fan moment? Do you have one?
Yes. In 2015, right before San Diego Con was whenever I emailed Jim Chadwick about, hey, if you need an artist to draw Batman Ninja Turtles, please consider me. And he had said yes. And then I drew 2 cover images that would be used. For me, it was used as like a proof of concept. And then it was also used to advertise. It was used for the first 2 covers. And then a few months went by. And then we started the series after San Diego Con. So in that in-between zone, when I'd only drawn just 2 images, when I went to San Diego is the first time of 2015 was the first time I met Kevin Eastman. And I don't know if he even remembers this. I have photographic evidence of it. But so when I went over to do, I'm not even sure if they asked me to come by the IDW booth or what it was, but I went to the IDW booth and Kevin was there doing a signing. And I don't know if Bobby, who's the editor at Ninja Turtles or with the Ninja Turtles, told him or whatever. Anyway, Kevin stopped what he was doing, came out of the signing area, and within about 30 seconds, we went from I've never met Kevin Eastman before to he's given me like a hug. He's playfully strangled me to do it for a photo because he said something like in a joking way, oh my God, you're getting to draw the comic that I've always wanted to draw, Batman and the Ninja Turtles. and I just hate you for it. I'm just gonna let's do a funny. I mean, he's saying it as a joke, of course, and then we have a photo where he's playfully strangling me, and then we have another photo of us just standing there, very pleasant, with our arms around each other. And so after that 30 seconds, he's back in his area doing his signing and stuff, and it's like I walked away feeling like, wow, he's like my best friend now. Like that, it was a great experience, and that was my first impression. He just has a real warmth and kindness and a openness and stuff like that. So that would probably be the most distilled one. Of course, later on when we actually got to work with each other, and then you get to know somebody without the veneer and stuff, and he was even better then. So,
very cool. Do you have a favorite convention moment or a more memorable one?
Oh no, that's it. That was the convention.
That's convention and fan, yeah. Or
well, the fan one was at the Reno. Reno was the show, 2019, where this this guy had come over, and he was I don't know if he's an artist or not. He was with his family. He's a teenage guy. I was gonna say kid, but he's not a kid, maybe 18. And he's flipping through my portfolio, and he's gushing about how much he likes the artwork, or he's asking how I thought to do this or that, and that he would never think of doing that, or how do you get so good? Very nice complimentary stuff. And then he suddenly, because he's looking through my original artwork, he then looks at the price tag on some of this artwork. And some of these are covers, so they're very expensive, of like popular characters. And then other times you might get a piece of artwork that has no name character, so it's maybe, a lot cheaper. And the page that he stopped on was a cover, and it was marked for like $6,000 or something like that. And who knows, I might not get that much money eventually if and when that page ever sells. But sometimes covers go for that much. But he stopped, and he goes, he like pointed at the price tag, and he said, he goes, I'm trying to think exactly how he said it, because the delivery was perfect. He said, wait, that's how much this page is? And I said, yeah, it might not sell for that much. And then he goes, you want to get $6,000 for this? Yo, tripping. Ah! And he just started laughing. And he was like smacking not my art, but like the table and stuff. And I started laughing harder than him, because his delivery was so funny. To him, the idea of spending that much on a piece of artwork, and that's totally cool. I took no offense, by the way. It was very funny. Then his mom, who was behind him, said, she goes, that's all right. Get your money. Get your money. That's what she said. It was a great interaction. None of them bought anything, and that was cool with me. We said goodbye. It was like one of the best laughs I've ever had. It took all the sort of, sometimes there's a certain air of like importance about artwork or the original artwork or something. And there's no, it's very much just us on paper with crude writing implements. There's not a lot of like romance to creating the artwork. And he took all the prestige right out of that, the perceived prestige, and it was hilarious. It was great. So that's probably my favorite fan interaction. Yeah.
It's good that you don't have an ego, then you left. Oh, look who joined us. Norm Ratman is here. I haven't seen you in a while, Norm. I
Norm.
Messaged you. What's in the Amazon box behind Freddie's head? Tang? Anybody who knows Norm, the Tang is the running joke, man. I mean, his wife made Tang cupcakes, for crying out loud.
I would love it if they were cupcakes.
I don't know how he doesn't gain weight. I don't know how.
So that is, it is. I did a piece of artwork.
Look at him getting nosy. You're going to tell us.
I'll tell you. It's fine. It's a what is it? Loot crate. That's what it's called. I did a piece of artwork that was used for a Ninja Turtle loot crate where I drew Shredder. It's like Shredder's ancestor, and it was used for like a cover of a journal. And so I got copies of the loot crates. So that's
cool.
That's what's in that box.
No. Only Norm.
Oh, Norm.
Oh, Norm. Actually, if next time Norm comes back to my show, he was at my last show, I really think I'm going to have everybody, when he walks in, go, Norm! Like from Cheers? Yeah,
from Cheers, yeah.
That'd be great. He'll be like turned back out.
Coordinated effort. Yeah.
He'll turn around, go back out that way. So that's great. Sorry, he just threw me off.
No, Norm's great. That's cool.
So, I think Norm is a really funny guy. And he actually, he was a great guest at the show. I mean, you might not think so, but he actually was.
Contrary to any expectations, he was actually a pretty good guest.
So obviously, you have an amazing resume, and people are asking what's next. But before we get into what's possibly next, let's go into what is currently going on now. You and Sim Seeley decided to create your own project. It's called Bequest.
Yes.
Can you please tell us about it? And then I'm actually going to show some pages that you sent me. I'm going to screen share, and we'll show them.
Cool. Yeah, and feel free to screen share whenever you'd like. But
Okay.
So Tim Seeley and I got along really well when we were working together on Injustice versus Masters of the Universe, and his understanding of story structure, and then also his knowledge of the Masters of the Universe characters and stuff, the lore, was very impressive to me. So we started talking about doing some type of fantasy related thing, and then that led to Bequest, which is it's the first creator-owned book I've done in like 6 or 7 years or whatever. It's been a while, and it's a fantasy, a group of like D&D. What's that?
Sorry, I'm just looking at the texturing in these panels. It's just gorgeous.
Thank you. And so this is like a return to me working in a pen and ink style that I hadn't done in probably 6 years or something, because I've been working in ink wash. So this is like the stark black and white, so no color is here. But it's like a group of D&D adventurers who are sent to our world, to the real world, to stop an arms trade that's happening where fantasy characters who usually it's like magic is kind of the power structure is run by magic in this fantasy world, but they're able to use modern day ammunition and firearms to equalize, kind of level the playing field. So there's like an arms broker who's trading like magic wands and stuff for rifles. So that's sort of the baseline plot. And then the group of characters come to our from the D&D world come to our world to stop this from happening. And the villain is very interesting as well. His name is Epoch, and he's basically like a cleric who was, he felt betrayed by his god. So his whole goal in doing this is to eventually find and kill his deity, which I think is just an awesome motivation for the main bad guy. So anyway, the whole thing is written in a much better way than what I just.
That sounds really interesting.
Seeley's awesome.
That sounds really interesting. Any Kiki sightings in the backgrounds here? Yeah.
Is there any Kiki side? I mean, she filled in like a lot of these shadows and stuff, but as far as her appearing in there, I'd actually have to look again and see. He was just asking. Kiki's walking by with a confused look on her face. He was just asking if there was any Kiki
cameos, Easter eggs,
or cameos in the background, and I actually can't remember.
Oh,
He's
the
looking
new
at,
one? I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I will get on that for book 3.
Yeah, I need to sneak some stuff in there. Yeah.
Well, she's going to be popping that head out in different angles and freaking you out more often. Beautiful work.
Thank you.
Just so you know, Will Plain said he would love to hear your creative process. How do you generate your poses and pages? And James, how you doing? Thanks for sharing out, man. I appreciate it. We gave you a shout out at the beginning of the show. So I'm sorry, Freddie. Go ahead.
That's okay. So yeah, the creative process very much starts with if I were to describe to you a panel that you were in charge of drawing or something, if I said, Batman is swinging over the city with the moon in the background and, he's silhouetted against the night sky or something, everybody is going to get a visual most likely in their mind of what that might look like, even if it's influenced by a comic book or a movie or the animated series. You'll get a picture in your mind of what it is. And so when I'm reading the script, I'm reading it on a computer screen, and then next to each panel in my Photoshop document, I'll sketch a really, really crude shape of what I want the panel composition or the pose to be. And it has to be bad because it has to be fast. It's like, and it becomes like a mental cue or like a note card, like an asterisk to sort of remind you of what you're thinking later on when you want to draw a better version of that. And sometimes you have to change the angle and stuff, but it's a way to kind of just note down what you want. Then later when you're actually doing the real layouts, you might have to change the angle to get the eye flow correct or something.
Right.
But, photo reference, there's been times where I'll have, Kiki and I will either she'll take the photo or I'll take a photo of her to get an angle of whatever it is that I'm trying to draw if I'm having,
Nice.
if I'm struggling with it. Thank you. And then, sometimes you'll like riding a bike or whatever, you look up reference for what, how somebody interacts with the bike. So it's
Right.
there's nothing real mystical about it. It's just you come up with it's a lot of trial and error and then sketching, and it looks bad, but you have to keep building until you get something better.
Look at that. Beautiful work.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
That's the Resurrection Beast. And he's in the tunnel underneath Chicago. Most of this story takes place in Chicago, our world, Chicago. And this Resurrection Beast has been loosed upon the area, so he's eating homeless people and almost eats a bike messenger type guy who's delivering some food. So that's what the heroes stop. That's their big hero need is. It's not like this life changing or not like it's not like earth shattering.
Well, hey, that's subjective, okay?
Yeah. For that guy, he's about to get eaten. His world is going to end. Yeah.
John Ottinger says wonderful work. Steve Garcia says wow, beautiful work.
Thank you very much.
Steve Garcia says those pages make me woozy.
Ooh.
He means it in a good way.
And a lot of these characters are based on some of Tim Seeley's role-playing game characters from when he was in high school and junior high. So
that's cool.
I had some input on some of their motivations and stuff, but most of them are based on his
Look at that.
Tim Seeley's idea or his characters. So
look at that shadow that you put there, the looming shadow. That's just beautiful the way you did that.
yeah, they're a bit freaked out. Because they thought that
That's how you looked about 20 minutes ago, though, when she stuck her head down.
when Kiki comes creeping down the steps with her head at foot level. That's so strange. She was like, have you ever seen that extended scene in The Exorcist where Reagan comes down the stairs like the spider walk, like backwards? That's what Kiki was doing. So I was like, whoa. But yeah.
And just so you know, Terry says the details are fantastic. Lori says, I love your work.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Working in this style, I mean, this is the first style that I ever started experimenting with. It's the pen and ink style that a lot of people would associate with just basic, comic book artwork.
Right.
But it's when working on a book like The Flash, you don't add nearly as much detail because you want it to look more open and it's colorful. And then if you get on a book that has a lot of grit and shadow, then you add a lot more detail. And I have been working in ink wash for so long that it was a really fun challenge to return to that first initial style and then get to draw it, with all these different techniques that I had.
Right. It's funny because there are two artists that are defined just by their eyebrows alone, you and Michael Turner. The eyebrows alone, I'll know that. Hey, that's Freddie Williams' eyebrows.
That's funny.
That's Michael Turner eyebrows. It's because everybody draws, like you said, different, and little body parts are drawn differently by different people. And I always remember that Michael Turner had distinct eyebrows, and so do you. I mean, obviously your whole style is distinct, but
that's one of the things that stand out.
Yeah, for me. So but I look at like small details a lot. I look at the things that maybe most people don't. Like they're looking at this amazing splash page and what's in the foreground, and I'm looking at the detail of the bricks the texture of the bricks you did in the back, or the shine that you put on the window, like the gleam. Because to me, that's the stuff that grounds it in reality, just makes it amazing. So you're not doing ink wash on this. I mean, was it kind of like taking off the weights and you can run a little faster, or?
Because it is a faster style. But at the first issue took me longer probably than a normal issue of the ink wash stuff, just because I had to keep kind of double checking my work. Like I had to make style guides for myself. I did a couple of test pieces for myself to get refamiliarized with the inking inking style and refamiliarize myself with the tools and stuff like that. So, but yeah, after that it was quicker, but not hugely quicker. It might be a half a week to a week faster.
Okay.
But that adds up. We were
Sure.
at the time though, we were putting up, like packing up our house or whatever to put it on the market, and doing all these repairs and all this other stuff because we sold our house at the end of last year.
Wait a minute, with that big studio you had there,
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
wasn't going to ask you because like that looks like a different room. But that was a gorgeous studio.
It was, yeah. We got a good offer, so we sold. But yeah, so now we're in a different house. We're
Make
actually
that
not
money. Make that money.
Get your money. But the reason I bring that up is because this series to me will always be connected to us moving, because we started working on Bequest right about the time that Kiki and I decided finally to for sure pull the trigger to actually,
Cool.
we've been talking about moving for a long time. Are we actually going to do it or not? And then we decided to do it. And then, so we were, Mike Martz, who was my editor for this, who's the editor-in-chief at Aftershock. And I've worked with him many times at DC, a little bit at Marvel when he was at Marvel. And then now he's at Aftershock. And he was very understanding. And we were so far ahead on the deadline that I had a lot of extra time. So
that definitely makes make them more understanding.
Yeah. And we worked together really well. So, and he was very lenient with the schedule. So that was good.
I have a question for you. I had a conversation with Sean Chen once, and because I wanted to do a Nightcrawler page, a commission with where you're showing the multiple motions of him being acrobatic, like you do in panel 1 here. And he used a term for it, and I forgot what it was, and I never asked him again. Is there a term for this when someone says, I want to show the motion like this?
Yeah, I've heard it referred to, or I've seen it referred to as continuous motion. I've also heard it referred to as after images or ghost.
That's what he said, I think. Either after images or ghost images or something like that. That's what he said. Okay. Yeah, because I like when panels do that. I love it.
It infers a lot. It's like it takes the storytelling. It might take like 5 or 6 panels normally to convey what's happening, and distills it down to 1. So it's very useful. It's economic for space as well on the page.
I also think it just brings even that much more energy into it, though. But it's cool because I understand why they call it the ghosting image or something, or after image, because obviously that's who they were at that moment, but you draw them heavy at the final movement. So
yeah, as it gets closer to the present, and the present, you add more detail or more shadow. That's beautiful.
Beautiful work. A lot going on. A lot going on in this book. It's got a lot of fighting and action, and it's like just keeps moving.
Tim and I, yeah, we have a lot of ideas for it. So the first arc is 4 issues, but it's open ended that we can keep doing more, series as we go and stuff. So, but because we've got, especially with Tim, when we get to talking, we get a lot going on, a lot of ideas and stuff in our minds. So, but the first one here is a really good story arc, and it introduces the characters, and all of them are very interesting. So my 2 favorite are actually Relic, who's he's a human with a secret, and then but he actually looks a lot like Morgan Freeman or Bill Cosby back before.
Yeah, this character here
to be a monster. Yeah. So when I was growing up, since I didn't have a father in my life, seeing like Cliff Huxtable, he was an idealized father figure in my mind, and that's what Relic is. Kind of has that feel to him. And then Epoch, who's the main bad guy, who has gouged out his own eye as a way to represent how he's distanced himself from his deity. Those are my 2 favorite characters. Actually.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, cool. There he is.
Oh, this was beautiful. Yeah, now I got to pick up this book. Yeah, we talked about that earlier, Will, about who inspired him, and he named a ton of artists, from different backgrounds and styles. Mark Silvestri and I can't Lionel Francis, Lionel. I never know how to pronounce it.
I thought it was
Laniel, right? Laniel. Yeah, sorry, you're right. No, you're right. You're right. Laniel.
Yeah. So Jim Lee, Wendy Penny, Arthur Adams, Kevin Eastman, Mike Mignola, Frank Miller, Laniel, Dave Gibbons, long list. Atomo, the one who drew Akira, even though I can't remember his first name right now.
Michael Town said, "Hey Kiki, love you."
That is Michael is our cousin, or Kiki's cousin, but now my cousin too.
Cool. And that's the last page we have here that you showed. But this looks, I mean, aesthetically, it's beautiful. I try to explain to everyone, you know, I don't want me to rephrase that. I always have this in the conversation. I say, look, writing obviously is extremely important, but nobody knows what the writing is. They only know what they see. It's the art that grabs them to first get the book. And then when they read the writing, that helps them want to buy the second book. But when you're doing a first issue, it's the art. That's all you go by. That's all you have to go by in a first issue. You don't have 20 issues before to say, you know what, this guy's a great writer. It's a good book. I love the story.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
So when you look at this book, I mean, I know sales are doing very well, and I would imagine, you know, this is just going to build momentum after first they see your art, and then they're going to have Tim Seeley's writing, and then the combination. So I can see this. You're going to probably get to, you know, the issue 4 and go, or issue, what was it say? It's 4 issue?
Yeah, the first arc is 4 issues. Yeah.
You're going to be like, all right, we got to continue this. Now this is in comic stores right now, or do they have to, or is there somewhere else they can get it besides comic stores? Or
I mean, anybody, of course, can sell something online, and I'm happy if you're picking up the book in any way. But we prefer, actually, like, even when I say we, I mean even Aftershock is pushing this for you to find your local comic book shop and call them ahead of time and ask. Issue 3 is now available for pre-order. I just put up the code earlier today, but I can't remember it.
Okay. But you put it up on your Facebook page, or? Yeah,
Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But the point is that it helps us and the book, and it also helps the comic book shop if you're buying it from your local shop. I did see one of my friends, Brian Tillman, who's on Facebook. I don't know if he's watching tonight or not, but he had said that, you know, he doesn't have a local comic book shop, and so he was like, "What do I do now?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I guess order it online somewhere, but I don't know. It's not like Aftershock has a store that says order from
right.
them. I've seen it listed on some of the issues already listed on eBay and on Amazon, but they were like $15 an issue or something. So buying it from a local comic shop, it's more like $4.50, I think. For
gotta love that aftermarket.
Yeah. So but I don't know. Other than that, yeah, if you can pick it up at your local shop, that helps them and us.
And many people were asking, what projects can we look forward to in the future with you? Is there anything you can tell us? Or
in the short term, I have, let's see, there's a comic book company called Z2 Comics that I worked with Grant Morrison on doing like a 8 or 9 page. I can't remember how many. It was like a short story. It's this is so surreal to describe it. All right, first of all, you know who Grant Morrison is. He wrote, first of all, he's a legendary writer, but he also he wrote my first ever DC work. He wrote Seven Soldiers, Mr. Miracle, which was what got me on at DC. And I haven't worked with him since until earlier this year, like in January. I got to work with him again on this Z2 comic thing. So Z2 puts out comics that are related to music, like rock and roll usually. So there's a book that's coming out. It's so weird to describe. Listen to this series of words I'm about to say, because it's such a strange connect. Okay, so there's a comic book that's based on the music of Anthrax, the band, and the specific. And so each chapter of the short story is based on one of their songs, or one of their songs is like the springboard point. So the one that I drew, that Grant Morrison wrote, is based on the song called Indians. So it has to do with Native Americans. It's like this post-apocalyptic, and it almost doesn't connect. I mean, it connects with some of the lyrics in the Anthrax song, but not in a way that I would have thought, because Grant Morrison is like a fourth dimensional thinker in a way that I can't think of. So when that book comes out, I don't know when it comes out. I think it's soon. That will be a book that I don't know how to even, I know that Z2 Comics has it available in different editions on their website for pre-order and stuff. I've also drawn a series of 2 5-part interconnecting G.I. Joe covers. So it's
Sweet.
Like issues 281 through 285 is 5 parts.
East Brunswick, are you listening?
Is he really into
he loves 80s properties, and and he likes your work. I'm sure he'll be snatching that up.
And then issues 286 through 290 is another 5-part. So wow. Yeah, they're huge pieces, you know, that took a lot, because there's a lot of characters in G.I. Joe. And then I'm not sure exactly. I've got like 4 different options in front of me as far as different avenues I can go down. In the short term, I'm gesturing to something you can't see off camera because it's like a stack of indie covers and commissions and stuff that I have to get caught up on. And then after that, I don't know. I mean, there's those different options that are ahead of me, but I haven't.
Oh, there's Tragedy. That's my book.
Oh, yeah. There we go. That will be added to the stack of different covers.
Yes,
We talked about that earlier today. It took me a second. I was like, wait, what?
I know, because you didn't know the name because I haven't discussed it with you yet, really.
Okay.
So, yeah. But we will.
But yeah, that would be cool. I'd be happy to do it.
Someone named Kiki Williams had said, what other genre would you personally love to draw? I would love to see you take on a Swamp Thing book.
Yes. Yeah, I would love to.
I could see your style for Swamp Thing would be awesome.
A lot of textures. Thank you. I would love to draw Swamp Thing. I'd love to draw Hellboy. That's actually, I did a portfolio piece, like a pitch piece that I haven't heard back from. I don't know if Mike Mignola is into it or not. So, but that
he's
would be
an interesting man.
I've never had more than a 2-second conversation with it, so I don't know. But
I've had 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's an interesting man.
His artwork is phenomenal. So
Freddie's the best. Whole family agrees. Okay, a little prejudice. He loves you both.
So this is my Theodula. Thea means like aunt or aunt in a Greek sort of shorthand name, or like a term of affection. So Theodula is Kiki's aunt. She's my aunt, and we love her, and she's very, very sweet to say that. So we will be seeing each other for Pascha, which is like the Greek Easter that's coming up like the first week of May. So it's a little different than the American Easter. So
Lori Ackham. I don't know if it's Ackham or Ackham. I'm so sorry, Lori. She says she loves the Ninja Turtles.
I do too. They're awesome.
So I try to ask this question of my guests often, and some people have answers, and some people go, I don't really know. So let's see what you got. But if knowing what you know now, if you could go back in time to when you were starting out in the industry, what advice would you give yourself?
To when I was starting out in the industry? I think, when you first started that question, I thought you were going to say, go back when I was a younger artist, like whenever I was a kid or something.
Oh, you know what? You can go. We'll mold it. Whatever fits you best. If you'd like to go before you started out in the industry, go for it.
Okay, there's 2 things that I would tell a younger version of myself. One, at the very beginning, when I first started drawing and trying to take it, looking at it as a profession, like trying to take it seriously, I was looking at the beautiful, confident, and finessed and subtle line work of Scott Williams over Jim Lee's pencils, and thinking that there was no under sketch. It was just like they knew the exact correct line to draw. Like all these lines were drawn perfectly the first time. And so that was the type of mountain I was trying to climb. I was like, wow, how are these artists able to do that? And it gave me a lot of anxiety on what to draw. So I would think that I needed to draw like with a pencil, but really, really hard. I'd like carve the line into the page. So it's like a blank page.
It's not a tattoo, Freddie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like you could actually see the indentation on the page underneath it, the stack of paper you're working on. And like I'd try to draw like someone's eye, and it's like a totally blank piece of paper, and then I'm pushing into the paper to draw an eyebrow and then the top of the eye, no under sketch or whatever, and then doing a terrible job and like being frustrated. You try to erase, you can't erase. So I would what I tell younger artists all the time is to not be afraid to sketch very lightly and mess up all the time, but you build upon those mistakes to create something better. So that can be looked at like from far away, like all your mistakes add up to something better that you hopefully learn. But even on just one piece of artwork, if you're sketching very lightly and you don't carve into the paper, I use something that's called a scumble or a scribble sketch, where you don't take your pencil off the paper and you very lightly scribble the type of thing you have in mind. And then that mess of lines that you've drawn, you can see the type of shapes that you want. So you lightly erase, and then you reinforce those lines that you wanted. And if at any time it doesn't look right, just nuke it. Erase, use a good eraser and just erase that arm. And then
that's the great thing about pencil.
Yes. And then once you get your under sketch, then you start going for the more finessed lines and that sort of thing. So the first thing is everybody sketches almost every artist I've ever seen sketches very lightly and does lots of mistakes until they build their confidence and then they know what to draw. Then the next thing I would say is in 1999, don't throw away all your old artwork. So that was the other thing that I did was, it's like at the time it was very psychologically freeing. So what I think a lot of artists are like this. When they look at their old artwork, there's like almost a fear where you think, oh no, I'm going to end up drawing like this again. There's like a feeling of, I was so terrible back then, and just by the act of me looking at it, it will somehow infect my brain with a mind virus, and I won't be able to draw a good.
That happened to Steph Wilson. He's just terrible again. Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's terrible. No, but so in '99, I took almost all of my old artwork, and it was like a whole copy box full of art, and threw it in a dumpster.
Oh wow!
Because at the time I felt like I needed that. It's like it felt like this clean break. I'm confident I will throw this away, and I never have to see it again. Yeah, Steph, exactly. Never look at your old artwork.
We don't want to look at his new artwork. Sorry. He fired first, but anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But I wish now in retrospect that I had just like packed it away somewhere and just not looked at it for 10 years or something. Instead, but to me at the time, it felt like it gave me strength to do this. But now I regret it. So I wish I had a lot of that artwork. So, but those are probably the two bigger pieces of advice. If I could give myself a piece of advice from like, looking at me right before I broke into the industry, it's, because I know that the types of projects I wish I took earlier or something, I might say something about that. But philosophically, I felt like very much I was on the right track as far as making sure you never miss your deadlines, be respectful to the people who employ you, but also to the people who are collecting your artwork. You owe them both a debt of gratitude, if nothing else. I mean, you need to deliver your artwork, and then the people who like your artwork, be appreciative of those people. So I don't know. That's not a really good piece of advice. I guess I would just say that's a good philosophy.
Cool. No, that's good. I mean, you'd be surprised what people don't really, some people don't think of the simplest things. Like you said, respect both those avenues that you deal with. I didn't want to pass this up. Your aunt, where I just had it.
Theodula?
Yeah, she said, Nini is glued to this. She's so proud of you and loves you.
Aw. So Nanette is...
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Nanette is Kiki's grandmother, and she's 87.
Oh, so God bless her.
I think that Theodula and Nanette are both together hanging out. And
very cool. We appreciate you coming
I think
out.
It's great that they're watching it. Yeah. And
yeah, that is awesome.
Nanette's very sweet. She's she remembers. So her father owned a what is that called? A general store. Whenever she was very young, and they had comic books like they had like where any kid could bring in 2 comic books and trade it in for a brand new comic. So there was like this communal,
That's cool.
like what is it called? A community built around the comic book. So it's fun to hear. It's great to hear stories from whenever she was a kid and they were at the store all the time and stuff.
Matt Campbell says he has a bin of old artwork and sketchbooks and he doesn't know what to do with them. Well, according to Freddie, don't throw them out. If you don't want to look at them, just pack them away, and someday, like a time capsule, you can look back at them.
Yes. Yeah, I think you'll regret it. I regretted it.
I always say, when you make a decision on something, you just look at this one simple thing. Can I live with never having this again, or knowing this again, or not? And if you can answer that definitively, then the answer is get rid of it. If you still aren't sure, don't get rid of it. Well, you actually felt definitive, right?
I felt 1,000% sure. It was like, it felt empowering. It was a great feeling at the time. And for a long time, I felt like, because I would tell other artists that, and it felt like I was strong enough to have made this decision.
All right, well, then forget what I said. And I can't draw for crap, so ignore me.
Oh, no. All right, so Kiki said, that she still has the T-shirt from my first Vendetta work. It's not all gone. So Vendetta, not V for Vendetta, but there was the very first comic book I ever drew. So earlier you showed me your 9-year-old daughter's the beginning
Yes.
of her comic book, and I think that's great because it took me a long time to actually get into drawing. Oh, Ashley has okay, so it was a 3-issue miniseries, and actually has, I think we emailed about it, even Ashley and I, where they were asking me how they get a hold of the book and stuff. It's like an old out of print book from a company called Sundragon Comics, and that was drawn in 1997. Was the first issue. It was the first comic book I ever drew, a full 24 pages or whatever of sequential artwork, and I made every mistake you could possibly make. And the issues 2 and 3 weren't as mistake filled, but still had a lot in there. My cat's about to walk over onto my lap.
Don't worry about it. I had my cat shut off my audio in the middle of a damn show.
Well, she's our 19-year-old. This is our 19-year-old cat. She's a very clingy, cuddly cat. She just turned 19 as well. I'm just gonna put her down very nicely. Here we go, honey.
Yeah, we're cool. We won't worry about that. We love animals here.
But yeah, Kiki has one. There was like 10 T-shirts made that had the Vendetta logo on them, and so Kiki has one of them that she occasionally threatens to wear it. Is how I think of it. She threatens to wear it.
That's funny. Well, look, Bequest is doing very well. Obviously, you have become iconic with the bodies of work that you've done. We look forward to the things that you're going to do in the future.
Thank you.
And I want to say this sincerely. We're not like good friends where we talk all the time or anything. Like once in a blue moon, I shoot an email and you respond in that. But I do want to be sincere when I say this. Going back to the Turtles, the Leonardo piece. Like I said, that was literally the toughest time of my life. And you were a relative stranger, and you and Kiki were so very kind in that interaction. And that piece really means a lot to me, that to this day, if I'm feeling like I just want to curl up in a ball, I look at the picture and I remember, get the hell up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I just wanted you to know that to you and Kiki for listening to me at that time and being there, and just the importance of the piece to me. It's also just aesthetically a beautiful looking piece. It's probably like the best drawing of a Ninja Turtle I've ever seen. But then you also, to add to that, you sent me the colored print, which I have here, and then that write-up that you did that I want to get a custom frame for all of them together.
Awesome.
And the fact that it means so much to you just actually makes it mean more to me, believe it or not. You guys were just very kind and understanding. Again, a relative stranger. I'm sitting here pretty much like in tears telling you my life and my troubles, that because I wanted you to know what the piece meant to me and still does. So if anything that you do in life, know at least that you really did, your art meant something to someone on a very sincere, very powerful level. So thank you for that.
Thank you. That really means a lot. And I appreciate you saying that. I took, neither Kiki or I thought it was a bad or a weird experience or anything like that.
I walked away going, oh my God, what did I do?
No, I'm glad.
Everything. My God.
I understand why you might have thought that, but I want you to know there was no reason to feel embarrassed or strange or anything like that, because we all go through stuff like that. The most, one of the most stressful times of my life has been this last year, and Kiki's been there for me, and we all have those sort of overlapping emotional complexities and stuff. So I'm happy. I think that that's probably the biggest compliment that an artist can get, is that a piece of artwork connects with somebody in that way. And I know there's pieces like that I've seen of other artists' work that I connect with. So it's like the biggest you've paid me the biggest compliment I can receive. So there's no reason to feel weird or anything about that.
Well, it's just, I guess it's funny because it's easier to talk to someone who's not involved. You have no stake in the game,
Right.
But because of that piece of art, it just brought me to you and Kiki on that level. I didn't think that you guys were laughing or felt bad at all. That's the point. I think I felt even more bad because I'm like, you know what? They were really nice about this. He's got deadlines. He's trying to do a show. Philip is a big old mush pot. Yeah, I can be. Yeah, I can be a hot-headed Irishman. It really depends on which one you get. And Kiki, that was very kind. Thank you. And yes, like I said, it's framed right here on the first floor. You see it when you come in the home. And
I think it shows more strength to be able to convey emotion in that way. It takes more strength for somebody to show vulnerability. So it was an all around great experience. And what Kiki just said, I couldn't have said it better, which is that it found the best home, the perfect home.
And the pose alone, the way he's down, it's not even so much all the crap he has stuck in him, but he's on his knees. But then you look at his face, and he's like, get up. So this is what I'm going to tell everybody out there. When you're having those days, and the strongest of us have those days, and you want to curl up in a ball, get up.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. Robert said that your artwork means a lot to him as well.
Thank you, Robert.
Steph paid me a compliment. I don't know if I want to put that up because I might faint. Steph Wilson and I have this like ribbing thing that goes on. We do it publicly. We do it posts. It's all in fun. There's a great deal of respect and love for each other. I like Steph a lot, and he's a great guy. So, and Kerry. Sorry, I don't know why I said Terry, and Kerry as well. Anyway, thank you, Ashley. I appreciate that. And again, that it meant something to you is just awesome too. So, look, thank you so much for coming out and doing this. I really wish you the best of success, and I hope things clear up soon. And everybody petition. You want to see Batman Turtles 4? You want to see more crossovers? We were talking about Voltron. You want to see Voltron, versus Transformers or something?
Yeah, that would be perfect. Yeah.
Do it. Petition. No, let seriously. If you want to see Freddie at a show, you have to contact the con and tell them that you want them there, and that's when convention people invite them as guests. If you want to see him do a book, you have to go tell these publishers because they want money. So they're going to, if you're going to pay for it, they're going to do it. So if you really want to see Freddie, continue with these 80s properties and stuff, go bombard DC and Marvel or whoever, IDW, who's big in the 80s properties, and say, we want Freddie. We want Freddie.
That would be awesome. Yeah. Because I would love to draw more of this type of stuff. So if it's available, I'll definitely grab that, snatch that job up immediately if it's offered to me. So because I have that connection with I drew like Transformers, Terminator. There was 4 issues that I did covers of that, and First Strike, which had a bunch of G.I. Joe, Transformers, Rom the Space Knight, and Mask, and all this stuff. I love to be connected with that. It's great to draw that kind of stuff. It's really fun. It's like smashing all your action figures together.
I used to have the Mask toys. They were great. The only thing that was dumb to me is the helicopter turned into a plane. I'm like, they do the same thing. I mean, you make it turn into something else, but it was
maybe
still
the plane was just for really fast straightaways. When you're done hovering, you need to then go really fast.
Before we go, Kelly said that your detailing your work is crazy awesome. Thanks for coming out, Kelly.
Thanks. I'm a love detail.
Steph paid me sort of another compliment, but it was mostly to you, so I'll put it up. I have to go back and watch from the start. There's a great show. Freddie is awesome.
Thank you so much.
Terry said that, Freddie, I'll keep watching for your work.
Thank you. Thank you, Terry.
And Steve Garcia said, great show, Freddie. You're a fantastic artist and a sweet, sweet dude. Look forward to seeing you on the con circuit soon. Steve Garcia is an amazing animator and talent, and he worked on the Iron Giant. He's an awesome dude.
Oh, that's one of my favorite. That film actually makes me cry. It gets me misty-eyed every time towards the end. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
So, and Steve also has never missed one of my shows, and I haven't had to pay him a dime. So thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. Thanks for coming out. Kiki, thank you for being a part of this as well. And to your family, thanks for coming out and being a part of this. Anytime you ever want to come back on to promote anything or whatever, please just don't hesitate to say, Phil, get me on the show. I'll make, if I'm booked, I will make room.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you so much. You guys thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you.
And guys, go talk to your comic shop about getting Aftershocks bequest that Tim Seeley and Freddie Williams worked on. Okay, issue 2 came out this past Wednesday.
Yeah.
So right now pre-orders are available for 3. So go talk to your comic shop tomorrow and say that you want all 3 issues and support their project. Okay.
That's very nice. I hope if you guys check it out, I hope you like it.
Just the artwork alone is gorgeous. So thanks for spending so much time with us. I really appreciate it. It went so fast. I had so much fun.
My pleasure. Yeah.
And you brought Courtney Eastman to my show. Good job.
Thank you. She's a real sweetheart. And thank you. Yeah, I just want to say, you already said thank you to my family for watching and stuff. Nanette, Theodula, Mike, Kiki, Courtney, everybody who watched. Thank you for tuning in like it's a television. But thanks for coming in to join us and stuff. I appreciate it.
Freddie Williams, thanks a lot. Have a great night. Good night, Kiki, and to your family. And we'll be following you, man. We'll be watching your work and following you on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And everybody scrolling below, that's where you find them, okay? And you can go to freddieart.com if you're looking to buy art. And you won't be disappointed. Trust me. One of the best purchases in my life was purchasing that piece. So
thank you, Phil.
Have a wonderful night. All right. Thanks for coming on.
Cool. Thanks. You too. Thanks for having me.
So that was Freddie Williams II. Awesome show. Great guest. A lot of fun talking with him. And again, just a really genuinely nice guy. And, he mentioned before, sometimes meeting your heroes or the people that you look up to in the industry can be traumatizing, or it can be a wonderful thing. Freddie is one of those guys that if he's that guy you want to meet, it's not a disappointment. It's a wonderful experience. So thank you again for coming out. And everyone, thanks for coming out. Please remember, this community is important. Let's be a community. We can build so much together as opposed to tearing it down by fighting each other or arguing. We are not each other's competition. Your only competition is yourself to be a better person tomorrow than you are today. So let's just be a community. Let's do it together, and let's support each other, all right? Let's all make our dreams come true. I thank you all very much. God bless you guys. Thanks for coming out. As usual, I'll leave you with what I always leave you. Be legendary and have fun storming the castle.